The Constitution is a relatively brief document. It's about 1,700 words, and it's not really what makes the United States special, because you think about the fact that Bolshevik Russia, Nazi Germany, they had constitutions. What really makes the United States different is the spirit of liberty that's enshrined in the Constitution. And the truth of the matter is, if we ever lost that spirit of liberty, then no matter how elegant or how long the Constitution is, we would not be the United States that we are today. I grew up in a home with 7 children, a small 2-bedroom house. We didn't have hot running water the entire time I lived at home. We didn't have a telephone in my house, and I'm not talking about a cell phone, I'm talking about a rotary phone, until I was a junior in high school. And my dad had a 2nd grade education, my mom had a 6th grade education. Growing up, I focused on baseball. My hero was Willie Mays, and I wanted to play center field for the San Francisco Giants. And so, like most young people, I enjoyed the benefits that we all enjoy as citizens in this country. And of course, I had relatives that were not lawful residents here in the United States, but nonetheless, they enjoyed the benefits of it as well. And so, I grew up in America. I grew up in a time when I think there was a great deal of pride in being in America, a great deal of pride in the Constitution. I ended up going to the Air Force Academy. I graduated from Rice University in Houston, Harvard Law School, some really fine institutions. And I was given that opportunity because I applied myself and then I worked very hard. And when I graduated from law school, I got a great job in Houston and then had wonderful opportunities to work in state government in Austin, Texas, and of course in Washington, D.C. But I am just one of thousands of stories in this country of people who grew up in very humble beginnings. And you would look at someone who has my background, you would think, well, you know, what's this kid going to do? But if you apply yourself, again, as I said, if you get a good education and you work hard, you never know when the next George W. Bush is going to come along and give you a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's what I like to tell kids in high school around the country today. I stood on the White House, the Oval Office porch on the evening of 9/11 and watched as President Bush came home that historic day, watched as Marine One brought him home. I was the White House counsel, the chief lawyer in the White House, and behind the Oval Office is a small study and a small dining room, and we went into the dining room, and there with a group of his senior aides, we began talking about what had happened that morning, and we began talking about how the nation was going to respond. And as a lawyer, my responsibility was to provide advice to the President of the United States about what authorities he had under the Constitution to defend this country. And so the requirements of the Constitution really hit home for me that day, because it was really part of my responsibility to make sure that the President was going to do everything he could do to protect America, but he was going to do so in a way that was consistent with his constitutional role as Commander-in-Chief. So that's just one example of many examples of how the Constitution affected my life, first as White House counsel, and then as Attorney General of the United States. Several years ago, there was a Time magazine cover that had a picture of the Constitution being shredded. And the purpose of that article was to discuss whether or not the Constitution has relevance today. And I'm here to say that it absolutely has relevance today. As I said earlier, it's a very brief document, so there is much about our society and about our life that is not written in the Constitution. It really is a fabulous blueprint from our founding fathers in terms of how we should govern ourselves and how we should live our lives, quite frankly. And I think the strength of the Constitution is the enshrinement of this notion of liberty. Liberty to do what we want, the liberty to live the way that we want, to believe a certain way. It's okay in this country to be weird, to do weird things. So that's really one of the great strengths about the United States, is that we have that liberty. And so even at a young age, you don't know what you want to do, but you have the liberty to think outside the box. Who knows what's going to be possible just 5 years, 10 years from now? And you can pursue that dream because of the liberty that's guaranteed to you by the Constitution. That's one of the things that makes America so great. The reason I'm supporting the 917 Society is because they support the Constitution and they support continuing understanding of the importance of the Constitution, particularly amongst our young people. When I worked in the White House, I carried a Constitution in my pocket just like this one, because it was important for me to know, perhaps even at a moment's notice, what does the Constitution allow us to do at the federal level. I suspect most people don't walk around carrying a Constitution, but nonetheless, it is vitally important for people to have a basic understanding of this blueprint that governs the way that our government works, its relationship between the federal and state level, but most importantly, the protections that all of us are entitled to with respect to protection of our individual rights. So this is why I support the 917 Society.